Hello students, I'm Himani Sharma, your UGC NET educator. In this new YouTube video, we are going to move forward with the concept series of Paper 2 English Literature of UGC NET. So of course, we have been covering the poets, the novelists, etc. which were there, which were coming under the Indian literature in English paradigm. But now the topic that we are going to cover in today's class is Indian aesthetics. So, of course, we know that there have been material available on the internet, but no such website is there to provide us with anything and everything about these very things particularly, from which now the examiners have put the emphasis to ask questions from. So, students particularly are not clear about what is Dhvani, what is Rasa, what is Vakrokti or Chittya, so on and so forth. So, these videos will help you in that very matter as well. Moving forward, I have an important announcement to make that we all are having, we all are starting with the next batch of our UGC NET English Literature, right, which starts from the 10th of July. And of course, we are going to move forward with Paper 1 Teaching Aptitude and Paper 2 of Political Science. For more details, you can click on the link provided in the description below. Now, coming back here, the theory we are going to talk about in today's video is Anandvardhana's Dhvani theory, right? So first of all, we are going to see that who was Anandvardhana, why did he provide us with this very particular theory, right? So this is what we are going to cover in here. He was a Kashmiri poet and a literary critic, and he provided us with a theory of a suggested meaning, a theory of an implied meaning. Was an expert in Sanskrit and Prakrit, right? So the language of the Jains, the Buddhists, etc. He was an expert of that period during the reign of King Anandvardhana, right? So he belonged to the 9th century CE, but we know that Buddhism started and Jainism started from around what? 6th century CE. So he came 3 centuries after that. Moving forward, we have certain major works here, but the main work of importance where we get to know about the theory that he has provided us with is Dhvani Lok, right? It might be having the spelling of this very thing or Dhvani Lok normally. Now, the Sanskrit Mahakavya Arjun Charita is written by none other than Anandvardhana, a narrative work with Sambanan Leela, right? That has also been written by him. The Lakshan Granth, which we know as what? Dhvani Loka. The Darshan Granth, Tattva Loka. The Buddhist philosophical book, because he was writing in Prakrit as well, as I already told you. So it's Dharmo Tavrivitri, right? Then a poem named Devi Sataka. These were certain major works by him, but this one holds much more importance if we are concerned with the unit of Indian aesthetics, right? Indian aesthetics particularly in the syllabus. So first of all, what do we really mean by Dhvani? If I translate it literally into Hindi, right, it means a sound. But here, he is not talking about the sound, but the suggestive or the implied meaning which is hidden, right? So, any meaning, if I say that she is like a rose, right? If I am writing this very particular thing, that she is like a rose, or let's just say she is a rose only, correct? So, what am I implying here? This is just a literal meaning, this is just a literal sentence, but if I look into it from the perspective of a poet or a person who reads it with the aesthetics, who wants to discover the hidden meaning, I might make certain, assumptions about it, that a rose, if we talk about it, generally signifies what? It signifies beauty. Correct? So, of course, we are talking about that she is like a rose or she is a rose means that she is beautiful. Correct? So, Dhvani theory talks about that very particular suggestive meaning only, which is hidden, which is not on the surface, which you as a reader with your analytical and critical skills will have to analyze. Correct? The essence of poetic communication, because the poet most of the time, he will not provide you things directly. but will shoot you with such, indirect statement which you are supposed to get an answer of, correct? Involves evoking emotional or aesthetic responses. So we are going to deal with certain examples as well so that this particular theory is clear to you. The power of poetry lies in its ability to create an impact through suggestion rather than a direct statement, that you are not providing the reader, you are not letting them know that this is what I am talking about, this is a direct statement, but rather you let the mind of the reader work particularly, correct? It is achieved through various poetic devices such as metaphor, simile, as I already told you in this very example, if I just write like. Correct? So, like here is a simile. Which other word is a simile? The other word is as. Any? She is as fast as a lion. So, as also is, a simile. Like jahan pe use hota hai, that is also a simile only, a figure of speech. Symbolism and other figures of speech which are there particularly. These devices contribute to the layers of meaning in a poem and evoke emotions, aesthetics, etc. So, this is evoking an emotion of, let's just say love, that she is so pretty, achambha ka, right, of marvel. This is creating that very particular emotion. This is evoking that very particular emotion in us. So, example, here is the example. The lotus bloomed and the bees hummed around, drunk on its nectar. Nectar matlab uske ras pe, right? In this verse, the literal meaning, and you are supposed to write these things as well. Vachya arth means the literal meaning. So, the literal meaning here is really straightforward, that the lotus was blooming, of course, and the bees were humming around it, which were drinking its nectar, right? But however, if we see it through Anandvardhana's lens, right? So, he provided us with lakshya arth, which means the suggested meaning, which is Dhvani ka meaning. What is the meaning of the entire sentence if we, read it particularly, and of course, unlayer it layer by layer. And the resonance of the verse lies in the implied emotion. So, what is the suggested meaning here? Suggestion of beauty, beauty of, the lotus, tranquility and harmony. The blooming lotus, what does it represent? Beauty and purity, because it is the one jo keechad ke aaspaas it blooms, right? Of course. While the humming bees signify a lively and a buzzing atmosphere. So, we as a reader, if we are working our senses through the Dhvani theory, will need to unravel these very particular layers which are there, correct? So, it did have a hidden meaning. The imagery created by the verse paints a picture of a serene and enchanting scene. So, it is not just the lotus and the bees humming around in there, but the atmosphere that is created is serene, shant, calm, right? The Dhvani in this example showcases how the verse goes beyond its literal meaning, which is the lotus bloomed, the bees were humming around it, living on its nectar, and it is evoking emotions and resonating with the reader. So, you as a reader will have to identify that what are you getting out of the sentence which is provided in there. Here, Anandvardhana's emphasis is on the power of suggestion, that it is your duty to provide people with hidden meanings. Let them play with the words, let them understand the things with their particular interpretations, correct? So, it is a suggestion or a resonance of a poetic text. This is just the crux of whatever we have done till now. It allows readers to experience deeper and emotional aesthetic responses which are there. Contribution to the field of literary criticism and Indian aesthetics. So, it is still a contribution given by whom? It is a contribution of Anandvardhana. Match the following may they ask these questions. It goes beyond the literal meaning. What do we really understand by the literal meaning? Vachya arth. And the suggested meaning is lakshya arth. So, you need to write these particular statements down. It can be explicit, it can be implicit. Now, types of Dhvani. Dhvani is used in basically other forms. So Alankara Dhvani, where Alankar basically, if I tell you, Alankar is one thing which is the ornamentation of poetry. So any figures of speech, anything which you are using to make your body, to make your poetic body, the poem wali body, feel a little ornamented or embellished, that is Alankar. Correct? Then we have Rasa Dhvani. We have 9 rasas. I am going to talk about those rasas as well. Love ho gaya, fair ho gaya, so on and so forth, Shringar ras, Bhay ras, etc. So all those very particular 9 rasas, how they are evoked in the people who are reading a particular poem. That suggestion through sound, rhyme, rhythm, alliteration, create a sonic suggestion. If we are reading something and we are just listening to the sound of P, P, P. So let's just say that this is a line of a poem. She is having pen, paper, pizza. So this is alliteration because the sound of P is repeated here, and this is suggestion through sound. Correct? Come back here again. Then we have Vastu Dhvani or Vastu Dhvani, suggestion through the context or the subject matter which has already been talked about. Now coming here, we have Vyanjan, which is an element of poetry, right, which is an element of Dhvani as well. The primary element of Dhvani theory, implied meaning or suggestion which is conveyed beyond the literal words. So basically we know what is Dhvani, we have talked about it. Vyanjan is achieved through poetic devices, like we already have talked about, she is like a rose, she is as fast as a lion. So there are particular examples which are there. So Vyanjan is suggested through that very particular thing. We have an example here. Her laughter danced, filling the room with sunshine. Literal meaning, वाच्य अर्थ क्या है हमारे पास? She laughed, and the sound with the laughter that she was having echoed in the room, filling the room with sunshine, echoed in the room. Suggested meaning, लक्ष्य अर्थ क्या होगा? Her laughter was infectious, that it was so good and brought joy to everyone present. So filled the room with sunshine meant that she made everyone laugh with her, and of course the environment, the atmosphere became joyous. Correct? Vyanjanarth, the verse suggests the impact of her laughter, evoking a sense of happiness and warmth. So this is the entire suggested meaning or through the usage of Vyanjan Arth. Correct? We have main two meanings here, literal and suggestive. Uske alawa we see the hidden meaning there. Then comes Anandvardhana's theory of aesthetic experience through the evocation of the 9 rasas. Basically, first of all, there were 8 rasas which were there. Let's just talk about them. Love, anger, heroism. These are the rasas which were there. So let's just see. First we have Shringar ras, which is erotic or dealing with sexual desire. Second we have is Hasya ras, comic, right? Third, जब आपको हंसना आता है कुछ देख के, Karuna, sympathy, evocation of the feeling of Karuna, sympathy. Raudra, anger that you have. Veer ras, heroism or bravery. Bhayanak ras, fear. Bibhats ras, that is hatred, and then we have Adbhut, marvel, right? So these are 8 rasas, but there was this 9th ras which was added, right, in the 17th century AD, Abhinav Gupta, right? One of the greatest Kashmiri musicians, he added a 9th ras within this 8 rases list, right? That was known as Shant ras, right, which means happiness or calmness. Uske baad se that has been known as Nav rasas, which mean 9 rasas. I hope I'm making sense and I'm clear to you all. Correct? So, Nav rasas. Example of rasa, the moon kissed the sea and their love filled the night. Here, the evocation of the feeling is of love. Correct? So, which particular rasa is evoked in here? The rasa of, let's just say, Shringar. The verse creates a romantic invocation, right? Invoking a feeling of love in the reader's mind. So, rasas jo hai, they keep on getting invoking whenever we produce a piece of poetry, or even a particular line will have one sense or the other which will be evoking some emotion of ours. Then we have alankar. As I already told you that these are decorative figures of speech to enhance the aesthetic appeal. Let's just say, I gave you the example of P, P, P for the alliteration sound, correct? We can say that these are the ornaments of poetry. Examples, anupras, which is alliteration, upma, smile, rupak, metaphor. Example is silent as a whisper, swift as a deer. So here the repetition of sir sound, it is creating, it is a decorative figure of speech. So what do we have in here? It is alliteration, adds musicality and rhythm to the verse, creating a sense of smoothness and agility. So of course here what are we getting? The tongue twisters basically. Those are an example of what? Those are an example of alankar because of the fact the alliteration, the sir, she sells seashells on the seashore, right? So she sells seashells. This is the example that I could recall. She sells seashells on the seashore. Even I am the one blabbering in here, correct? So here the sir sound or most of the tongue twisters, चंदू के चाचा ने चंदू की चाची को चांदनी रात में चटनी चटाई, etc. What are those? Those are the alliteration, the alankara sound which is produced. Then another example, upma, that is simile. Her eyes were like stars, twinkling in the night. So here the word like is signifying what? The word like is signifying simile only, correct? Emphasizing the beauty and sparkle of her eyes. Then we have rupak, that is the metaphor which is the implicit meaning which is there, correct? Simile is the explicit, jo bahar se pata chal raha hai. Metaphor is the hidden meaning, again, the implicit one. He is the lion of the courtroom, fierce and mighty. So of course, there is no usage of the word as or like, of course, so it is not a simile, but he has been compared to a lion. So indirect comparison of a lion with the person who is there, the implicit, correct, we talk about in here, that is here. Strength, power, dominance in the courtroom. So lion here is not signifying that he looks like a lion or so on and so forth, but the strength, dominance that he has. Then this is where we land as the conclusion. So we have learned through this very particular lecture that Dhvani is given by Anandvardhana in his book Dhvanya Loka, correct? So you all will be knowing this very particular thing. You guys are ready to match the particularly, following which are the, asked in the question paper. So coming back here, he wrote the book Dhvani Loka, or of course he gave us the theory of Dhvani, which means the suggested meaning, and we are having alankaras, we are having different types of arth which are there. Vyanjan arth, which is the literal meaning, then we have lakshya arth, which is the suggested meaning. So of course these are the two types of meanings which we did. We also talked about alankara, upama, metaphors which are known as rupak, right? So all these particular things, now you know what is Dhvani. It is not the sound if you literally are translating it. Even you see that here he has used this theory of Dhvani, that Dhvani is not signifying the Dhvani that we already, the sound that we talk about, but he is signifying it as the theory of suggested meaning by giving the name of the theory which is suggested itself. It revolutionized the understanding of poetry by recognizing the significance of suggestion and the emotional impact that it can have on the reader's experience. So this is what we all were supposed to cover in today's video. I hope things were clear to you, and this particular thing in the syllabus which the students usually fear ki hame nahi aata Indian aesthetics, so on and so forth. So I think that is clear to you all. Thank you so much and have a good day. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.